So I'll admit all in about 3 minutes.
Hi, man. Hello?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Can you hear me well?
Good morning.
You keep on muting.
I'm sorry. Good morning.
Please stay muted. Everyone, please stay muted.
You hear me now?
Please stay muted, everyone.
It keeps saying unmuted after you push muted.
Please stay muted.
Hello?
Sir, you have to stop unmuting yourself. Just press mute. The hearing hasn't begun yet. Just press mute on your phone and just wait a few minutes for the officer, okay? Mr. Weaver. Okay. All right. Good morning. This is the October 19th, 2022 Absolute Pardon Session of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles being held via Zoom video conferencing and live streamed on our website. My name is Parole Officer Alexandra Lawrence, and I am the hearing coordinator for today's session. Additional board members are also present to assist with this hearing. Presiding over the hearing today will be Chairperson Page, who will now say a few words. Thank you, Officer Lawrence. Good morning. I am Rafara Page, and I will be serving as chairperson of these proceedings today. The people of the state of Connecticut have vested the Board of Pardons and Paroles with extraordinary power to grant pardons for convictions in the state. The board may grant an absolute pardon or a certificate of employability. An absolute pardon, if granted, may result in the complete erasure of your record of criminal convictions in the state. The board may, in some cases, deny an absolute pardon and instead grant a certificate of employability to a person it feels is not suitable for an absolute pardon. In such cases, the board is making a statement that, in its opinion, the person is suitable for employment at this time. In considering whether to grant a pardon, the board looked at, among other things, the nature and seriousness of the crime, the impact on any victims, the length of time that has lapsed since the commission of the crime, and any and all efforts the applicant has made to become a productive, contributing member of his or her community. As applicants to be heard today, your cases were reviewed extensively by the board at a pre-screened session held previous to this hearing. You've been selected from a large pool of candidates and represent those who have shown a serious effort towards rehabilitation. You are all to be congratulated for your efforts to rehabilitate yourselves while becoming productive, contributing members of your communities. Some of you may not be granted pardon here today. However, I would encourage all of you, regardless of the outcome, to continue on the path of rehabilitation and progress.
Be aware these start with swearing in, the first few are a little boring, or just make you smile. And it actually, as a black woman, makes me feel like a lot of these folks are black African Americans being charged can make me frustrated with the system we have. But anyway, back to the process. They ask some questions and the folks answer, and then a few more questions. If the victim is present, it can get a little intense. So pour your tea, and prepare to sip. I know I will.
Applicants, as a part of your testimony, you are required to be sworn in. Please raise your right hand. The appropriate response to this testament is I do. Do you solemnly swear and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, upon penalty of perjury?
I swear.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do. I do.
I do.
I do. I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Me too.
I do.
Celeste do.
I do.
I do.
We all
I
do.
do.
Thank you. You will now be called. Now each applicant will have a turn. We will start with the applicants who are represented by counsel. We will then complete all the other cases. As you are called, you will be asked to state your name to the board. You may, with the board's permission, to proceed to explain why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon. Attorneys may also, but are not required to address the board. Okay, first on the docket, we have Mr. Malcolm Shabazz. Please state your name for the record. Mr. Shabazz, if you are present, if you can unmute, and please state your name for the record.
Beautiful teeth.
Hello?
Good morning, sir. Please state your name for the record.
Malcolm Isaac Shabazz.
Thank you. At this time, you may explain to the board why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon.
Why am I suitable for absolute pardon? I worked very hard in not getting in trouble for the past years.
That's it? Uh-huh.
Ms. Chance?
Are you all done, Mr. Shabazz?
Yes.
Okay. So I thank you for those words. They're very important to your pardon application today. So I'm happy to hear that you've been working hard. Now we have some questions that I would like to begin by asking you. And I know that you have previously participated in several programs in the community. And so I need to ask you, how helpful were those programs to you? And what is your relationship with your children and wife today?
Well, I have a very good relationship with my children and my wife.
Okay. And can you tell me about some of the programs that helped you to get to that point where you are now working together to raise your children without any kinds of problems?
Well, therapy. I would say therapy, and I also used to, I think, the App Foundation, if I'm correct.
Okay. And were you able to gain any skills that has helped you to, bond with your wife and children in a more successful way?
My charges aren't with my wife.
No. I didn't ask you about your charges. I said if you were able to bond with your children and your wife successfully.
Yes.
After those programs.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how is your relationship with the victims? Have you seen or been in contact with them or see them?
No.
Okay. And so you have figured out what it is that you had problems with, and you've been able to work on those issues?
Yes, I have, ma'am.
Okay. And are you currently employed?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm disabled.
Oh, you are. Okay. So, tell me again how the pardon is going to help you.
It's going to give me a fresh start.
And what will that allow you to do?
Well, I'm trying to open up a business, like a t-shirt business.
Uh-huh. And what has been happening with that?
I'm almost there. It's getting there. It's taking time, but it's getting there.
Okay. But you just need to have this so that you can move forward positively.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds reasonably. Well, thank you for answering my questions, and I'm going to now turn to Ms. Sacanini.
The record speaks for itself. I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dargan?
No further questions. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion that M.I. Shabazz be granted a pardon, an absolute pardon. Ms. Zaccanini?
Aye.
Mr. Dargan?
Aye.
Okay, so Mr. Shabazz, we wish you much success in your endeavor in your business.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations, Malcolm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the docket, we have Mr. Jeffrey James Hayes being represented by Attorney Sorokin. Thanks, Joy.
Good morning. Matthew Sorokin. I believe Mr. Hayes is in my.
Good morning.
Mr. Hayes, please state your name for the record.
Jeffrey Hayes.
Thank you. At this time, you may explain to the board why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon, or your attorney may make an opening statement.
I'd like to make an opening statement, please. So, just briefly, my client's 36 years old. He's the father of 4 children. He's been out of trouble for over 12 years now. And in fact, the last incident giving rise to a conviction on his record took place before his 23rd birthday. So his entire criminal record occurred when he was very young. As I'm sure you read in his essays, he had extremely challenging circumstances growing up, which led to him getting into trouble. But as he became a young man and a father, he was committed to breaking the cycle that he was born into. He committed himself to the program of Project Free, the Community Partners in Action. There's a reference attached to his application from a counselor from that program. He got into a stable relationship and he began a career as a construction worker, which he still works to this day. He's extremely committed. As a matter of fact, every one of our meetings with me and him had to take place after 4:30, after he got out of work. And that was 5 days a week for the entire process. Now at 36, like I said, he's a father, he's a committed partner, and obtaining a pardon would put him in a better position from an employment context to be able to support his partner and his children. I think he's an excellent candidate. He's been out of trouble for a long time, completely turned his life around. And with that, I'll turn things over to the board and Mr. Hayes for any questions.
Thank you, Attorney Sorokin. Mr. Hayes, your attorney has done a great job with providing us with the information on your behalf. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Sure. I wanted to let you guys know, thank you for your time for meeting with me today and hearing my case.
You've done a great job. Mr. Dargan, do you have any questions for Mr. Hayes?
So, thank you, counsel, and thank you, Mr. Hayes. You've come a long way since 2011. I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dargan. Ms. Zaccanini?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I move that Mr. Jeffrey James Hayes be granted a full and absolute pardon. Ms. Zaccanini?
Aye.
Mr. Dargan?
Aye.
My vote is aye as well. The pardon is granted. Congratulations, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Attorney Sorokin.
Very much. See you later.
Next on the docket is Mr. James Jones. Mr. Jones, please state your name for the record. Please unmute, sir.
Okay, James Jones.
Thank you. At this time, you may explain to the board why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon.
I believe I'm suitable because since the last incident that occurred, I've never been in any kind of trouble. Never been nothing as simple as even being arrested by cops for motor vehicle violations or anything like that. Because truth be told, I know that what I did was wrong. I made a mistake, and I tried to do a lot of other things to repair the mistakes that I made. After which, I also had a serious motorcycle accident where I was listed as dead, and I was in the hospital for 8 months. And I think that was one of the biggest learning experiences I ever had in my life. Since then, I've been disabled and internal head bleeding. So right now, I have memory loss, memory lapse, and even the person that was involved in this incident where I made a mistake by brutalizing her, she stayed with me for years. We had a good relationship, and I just made mistakes during the course of that relationship that I learned. She took care of me, and when we finally did decide to leave each other, we left on good terms. There was no fight, nothing like that involved. We even bought a brownstone afterwards with the money I got from insurance. So it was never any bad feelings between us at all. Our problem was just learning how to separate from each other.
I appreciate that information, Mr. Jones. We did read in your application much of what you just shared with us, so we do appreciate that. It's my understanding that the victim in one of your cases is present and would like to make a statement. Ms. De Jesus?
My apologies.
No problem.
This is regarding Jones, correct?
That is correct.
Dear Office of Victim Services and Advocacy, as the victim of James Jones, I would like to know what this office plans to provide for me. I figured if you could find me, I am quite sure he is able to as well. I'm thinking I think asking a person who suffered a fracture to the skull, PTSD, held hostage, and punched in the eye so hard that she has permanent injuries, to pardon this toxic, narcissistic behavior to be excused so another victim can be violated or killed is absolutely absurd. I ask again what this office is going to do for me. I am terrified of him. He did not serve any time, and the belief that he can be pardoned for his violent act towards me is frightening in itself. I am asking that you not contact me again, only in the event that James has been pardoned, so that I can obtain sources to protect myself. As a human service provider, I would never ask a victim of domestic violence to consider pardoning a crime made against them. I think it's unethical and disappointing that someone can commit a violent crime and their record be expunged. In observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I will not participate in this hearing, nor do I want to open up a can of worms for him to try to retaliate against me. This is devastating as a woman, and you should understand this. I know I fear for my life even more now than this that has been coming back up. That's all I have, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Jesus. Ms. Akinini, do you have questions?
Well, I guess you didn't leave on the best of terms, sir.
Can I respond to this, please?
No, you may not. I apologize.
No, but it doesn't sound like you left on the best of terms, sir. Did you take a domestic violence program?
Yes, I did. And we've never had a fight or argument after that at all. We've never had any kind of contact, whether verbally or on the phone. I'm the one that didn't want any contact with her after all was said and done. So we never had a problem. So I don't understand where this is coming from. And yes, I did go to anger management after that.
I'm not sure. Well. I'm not sure what your point in making that statement is, sir. Are you dismissing her fear or her feelings?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I never had any kind of contact with her at all since.
But you 2 minutes ago, you said you left things on great terms.
We did, and that's why I don't understand where this is coming from. I have no clue, because after that accident, we actually bought a brownstone together and lived together for 2 or 3 years.
After what accident?
In West Haven. After the incidents, we lived together for 3 years after the incident.
After the crime.
In a brownstone in West Haven. Correct.
Right.
In a brownstone in West Haven that I purchased with insurance money from my accident.
Yeah.
So I don't understand where this is coming from. I have no clue in the world, because we haven't had any kind of contact at all. So I wouldn't have no clue.
Well, you don't have to have contact for someone to be fearful and to be traumatized from your actions.
That's totally understood 100%. But once again, I'm saying that after we went our separate ways, we had no kind of contact with each other at all. And after the incidents that we had, the stuff that I'm going to court for right now, after all this, we have went together and bought a house and was together for 3 years after this incident. That's what I'm saying to you, quote unquote.
Okay, so can you understand why possibly reliving this, bringing this up, obviously somebody reached out to her and spoke to her about this crime, might be traumatizing? Maybe she recalled the actual incident?
Yes, I can understand that totally and entirely. And I'm not denying any of this stuff. I never started this by denying this. I started this by saying I was at wrong, I was at fault. And
did you cause permanent damage to her eye?
No, not at all. I don't know where any of this came from. That's what I'm saying.
Did you punch her in the eye?
Yes, I did. But none of that's being said is true. I mean, you have to look at her medical records, and you have to look at my medical records, because it doesn't show any of that's been said from the incident. So I don't know where any of this is coming from. This is all brand new to me.
Well, why would she make that up? How do you know what she goes through with her eye?
I don't know. Once again, I did everything within the law, never to have any kind of contact with her at all after we broke up, after we finally separated. Our problem was we never wanted to leave each other. That's what our problem was. Both of us, on both ends, we never wanted to leave each other, because if we wanted to leave each other, when insurance money came from an accident, I never went and bought a brownstone where we was living together. And then when we did separate, I left with nothing, because I didn't have a problem with her. I just totally left. I totally left without a problem. When we finally left from the brownstone that I purchased, I left everything behind, because I didn't want any problems at all.
All right, Mr. Jones, I'm going to interrupt you, because I'm a little disappointed, to be honest, that you couldn't take in what your victim said and show a little remorse and sympathy.
No, that's not true. I did say that. I do understand. I said I do understand all
You're
that.
reacting very poorly.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, I'm sorry you interpreted it that way. I said I do understand that. I said, but I'm not aware of any of this. That's what I said. I'm unaware of this, because when we went our separate ways, it was not like that. It was like two people that just went their separate ways with no fighting, no arguing, or anything to that degree.
And as I just explained to you, and you didn't take in what I said, that does not negate what she's feeling right now.
And I do understand that, and that's what I'm saying. I said I'm just not aware of it. I understand what you're saying.
You are now, because you just heard the statement, and you're not showing remorse or understanding at all.
I'm very. No, that's not true, miss. Please don't misinterpret.
I have nothing further, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you,
Denied.
Ms. Ekanini. Mr. Gargan?
Just one follow-up. So this incident happened 16, 17 years ago. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And when was the last time that you had any contact with this individual?
This incident happened 17 years. It had to be at least a minimum of 14, 15 years ago, because once again, after that incident, we went and bought a brownstone. We moved somewhere and bought a brownstone. We stick together another 2 or 3 years after this incident. And that was the last time.
So that 17-year period, then 2 more years you had some sort of contact, but you have not had any contact with this victim in about 15 years?
A minimum of 15. Not via phone, not via computer, not via email, nothing at all.
Because the statement from Office of Victim Services, we as a board, that's part of us, our weight system, so to speak, and that plays a key component in our decision. So with that said, I do wish you the best of luck, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gargan. So, Mr. Jones, I have to agree with Ms. Ekanini. I understand that you were taken aback by the victim's statement, but if you have children, and I think I read that you have, right? You do have children?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And if one of your children comes to you and say, "Well, Daddy, I'm scared," regardless of what it is, thunder, light, whatever, a nightmare, I'm sure that you will console him or her and say it's going to be okay.
And you're absolutely correct, but that was also part of my decision, which totally stand away and entirely, because I learned my lesson. That's one of the reasons why I had no contact at all. And it's not like a person that after which I was stalking or I had contact with, because I knew, I pretty much knew the trouble I would get myself into all around the board, as well as her. So I never did anything to violate them.
No,
even to this day, despite the decision, nothing has changed. I'm not going to do anything to violate them. I'm just not going to do it.
I appreciate that. So give us a few minutes to talk about your case, and we'll give you our decision. Ms. Ekanini, what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously the victim has been impacted. I don't care how much time has passed or whether they had contact or bought a brownstone. I don't care about any of that. I care about how she feels today when discussing this case. It's unfortunate, like I said, his reaction, but I think there's more work to be done to understand what victims go through. Possibly, my vote is no.
Okay, Mr.
Do you mind if I say something else to her?
Sir, we're deliberating. Your chance of speaking now is over. Thank you.
I'm also a no.
Okay. I'm going to say the victim's number 6, the incident for the victim and the victim's family, and
Number 9,
your minimization of responsibility for your actions. So I move that Mr. James Jones' request for a pardon be denied at this time based on the injury and impact to the victim and or the victim's family, and the fact that you minimize responsibility for your actions. Ms. Ekanini?
Aye.
Mr. Dargan?
Aye.
My vote is aye as well. Mr. James, your request is denied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. The next person on the list is Mr. Stephen Miguel. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Miguel.
Thank you. At this time, you may explain to the board why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon.
Okay, thank you. I believe I'm suitable for an absolute pardon because I was not in any previous trouble before this case or after. During the day of the incident, the whole thing, was a he said, she said situation. You understand it was another domestic violence situation, like the previous one. And the reason why I'm seeking...
Sir, can you stop rushing? Whatever you're doing, it's
loud?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So the reason why I'm seeking a pardon is because if my character ever comes into question, I don't really want anything that's on my record, or for that to come into question if something else, if I was ever convicted of another crime. That makes sense?
No.
No.
So I don't want to have anything on my record if something were to happen in the future, or if my character was to ever come into question. I'd rather have a clean slate for them to look at rather than seeing the breach of peace.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Again, Mr. McGill, we do, victims have the right to write in, and it appears that your victim did want to provide some input in terms of your request for a pardon. So I'm going to turn the hearing over to Mr. Jesus once more. Good morning again.
Good morning, board members. I do have a statement, and it reads as follows. Dear members of the board, I'm writing this statement today to express my concern and disagreement with the possibility of Mr. McGill receiving an absolute pardon that would eliminate the lifetime protective order. I hope you take my statement into consideration for your decision today. While I hope Mr. McGill has grown since our relationship and is in a better place today, it does not change what he did to me throughout the course of our short-lived relationship. Mr. McGill was jealous and controlling individual. He would blow up my cell phone constantly, demanding to know where I was, who I was with, and to send pictures to prove my location. That was tame in comparison to the night he assaulted me. The night he assaulted me, Mr. McGill was under the influence, showed up to my apartment unannounced, and forced his way in. Once he was in, he held me hostage in my own apartment for hours. He confiscated my cell phone so I could not call for help. He threw me around, causing damage to my closet in my bedroom. He choked me, struck me, while I had to beg him to stop and resort to professing my quote-unquote love for him to get him to snap out of it. At some point, I was able to run outside to my car, where he followed me, reached into my car, and broke it so I could not drive away. I ran back inside and was able to slam my door shut and lock him outside. I still did not have my cell phone, so I had to use my iPad to FaceTime my father for help. My father was able to call the police, who came and helped me out that night. Mr. McGill and I worked together at the time, and I was reassured he would not be able to return to the premises because of the assault and the temporary protective order that was in place. Mr. McGill ignored the protective order and showed up to our work. I was forced to call the police, again out of fear for my safety, where he was arrested again, this time in violation of the protective order. I believe the only reason Mr. McGill has stayed away from me since then is the fear of jail, knowing if he violated the protective order again, he would be imprisoned. In lieu of felony charges, I had previously agreed to Mr. McGill only receiving misdemeanor charges in exchange for a lifetime protective order. My one and only interest has been protecting myself from this man, so I could feel safe. What was the point of me agreeing to this if this man can then have them pardoned only a few years later? This needs to be explained more to victims like myself, and honestly, this is a problem why more victims do not come forward. That night still lives in my head, and it took me a few years of therapy to work through the issues Mr. McGill caused. The protective order gives me peace knowing I have a blanket of protection. I sincerely hope he is better in his relationships today, but this does not change the damage he caused me. Please keep this protective order in place for me so I can continue to feel safe. So I can also advocate for other women I know that could be in this situation, knowing the court could help them. Please do not let him get a pass. I have attached screenshots, if the panel wishes to see, of text messages with Mr. McGill and myself. I have saved these for years as a reminder to never accept this treatment in a relationship ever again. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Jesus. So, Mr. McGill, sometimes it's just not our time. Your victim was obviously traumatized by this offense, and with respect to the victim's statement she submitted, she wants that protective order to remain in place. So, sometimes, we want to move past things, but the people affected by them are not ready to move past them yet. So I would suggest that you continue working diligently on yourself, and maybe a few years down the road, she won't feel as strongly. But, for me, I'm going to side with the victim on this. So let me just see if my colleagues have any questions. Mr. Dargan?
Good morning there, Mr. McGill. How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
So, in all the information that we look at, too, I see you talk about how you express regret over the offense, right? But you deny some of what the victim reported to the police, right? So is that fairly accurate?
Yeah. Can I add an additional comment to that or no?
Sure, go ahead.
So when you asked the previous gentleman, did you struck the woman in the face, he had said, yes, I did punch her in the eye. When Miss Lee brings up choking her, I've never choked this woman. I was locked outside her house when she was choking herself.
See, this is where I have an issue.
Yeah.
We don't ask you to rebuttal what the victim has said. We just want to know. We're focusing on today's events. So
I've never assaulted a woman is what I want to say. I've never assaulted a woman. Thank you. So a woman saying I assaulted her does not mean that I assaulted her. It's what she said.
You pled guilty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, no further questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dargan. Ms. Agnini?
Well, I thought in your, and I'm looking at it now, in your application, you said, sir, that you assaulted her after she assaulted you.
She punched me in the face and shattered my $800 glasses on my face when we were laying in bed watching Netflix after not even saying a word to each other. And what I did was try to diffuse the situation for the whole evening so it wouldn't turn into this. And I woke up the next morning with shackles on my ankles and my wrists because of what happened. And
so you deny that anything else happened? She punched you in the face, you went to bed, and you woke up in shackles. That's what you're saying happened?
No, there was obviously the scuffling in between.
Well, what do you mean by scuffle? Did you assault her or not?
I did not assault her, no. There was property damage, and that was it.
So your idea of a scuffle is you damaging her property?
We fought over the breathalyzer in her car. She was in her bathroom saying she was calling the cops, so I pushed the door in. The door hit her.
Okay.
Those were the two things that were violent on my end. She punched me in the face. She punched me in the stomach. She had bruising on her wrist because I was holding her arms because she was a third-degree black belt that was trained with nunchucks, swords.
Did she have nunchucks or swords in your bedroom?
She literally drove around with them in her trunk.
Why would you stay in this situation? Sounds like you were in real danger. Why did you stay there that night?
Good question. Good question.
Yeah, so I've
learned to be much more selective with who I let in my life. That's what I've learned from that experience.
So listen, when you apply for a pardon, we don't care about everybody else in the world, right? You do a lot of deflecting to other people. Even when talking about your current relationship and her ex, whatever, like you went off on these tangents. The focus is you, how you've changed, and what you accept responsibility for. I would recommend for the future that you not deflect blame and minimize what you yourself did. Okay? Because we're not here to discuss other people's lives or pardons. We're here to discuss you.
I just wanted to present the truth. Sorry.
Well, you've done that, but it really sounds like you're not taking any responsibility. And if that's the case, you can't be.
No, the responsibility I'm taking is I am much more selective with who I let in my life and who I trust.
Yeah, that's not good enough, sir. My vote would be to deny as well, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So I move that Mr. Stephen McGill's request for a pardon be denied at this time for 6, the injury and impact to the victim, and 9, you minimize responsibility for your actions, and I would also add 12. The seriousness of your offense would diminish expungement of your criminal history at this time. Mr. Dargan?
Aye.
Ms. Agnini?
Aye.
My vote is aye as well. Mr. McGill, your request is denied. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next on the docket is Mr. Dwayne McCall. Mr. McCall, please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Dwayne McCall.
Thank you. At this time, you may explain to the board why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon.
At this time, I've been 7 years clean after my conviction, and I work with youth in the community, and also have a job. I work with youth and youthful offenders, victims, and heinous crimes that have been committed by youth. And I have received a job promotion for Compass. This is crisis for mental health. I've been working with the police and riding with the police for 911 calls for mental illness and public intoxication, which I'm an advocate for, which I have always been against for my last 7 years of being clean of drugs and alcohol abuse and use by people in the public.
Thank you very much for that statement, Mr.
Good
McCall.
job.
We do have some victim input for your case as well.
Oh, shit.
Mr. Jesus, good morning once more.
Good morning, board members. Before I read the statement, I just wanted to let the board members know that I did receive a statement from the victim's sister as well in opposition, but that statement will not be read because I received one from the victim.
Oh.
Thank you.
Dear Board of Pardons and Parole, I am at a loss where to begin to write a victim impact statement. I am forcing myself to do this because I must. I honestly thought I could leave this behind me. However, this assault has proven it will never leave me alone. I will not use the person's name that sexually assaulted me when I was 15 years old. I will refer to him as he or him only. Receiving the letter notifying me of this request to the pardon, and even bringing myself to write this statement, has shifted me back to the age of 15 and forced me to realize that I have PTSD from that event, and I have since begun counseling again. This event has obviously...
Okay, what do we call these people who attack and touch little girls? Okay, so he touched a little girl, sexually assaulted a little girl. And these aren't like things we're saying like we think or allegedly. He was convicted. He's asking for a pardon, okay? We are going to call him Pond Skim. Okay? Yes, he's Pond Skim.
never ending. I'm sorry, my apologies. This event is obviously never ending for me, and I truly do not feel as though he should be pardoned for his actions on that night. I am not writing this statement in an attempt to stop him from moving forward in his life. There are other ways, from what I have been told, such as a certificate of employability provided by the board as a way of moving forward, rather than wiping this assault from his record.
That's right.
I can never make a request to make it just go away for me to be able to move forward.
That's right.
The events that took place that night have affected me, not only affected me, but my family, friends, any relationships that followed, and even the way I raised my child.
Yeah.
I went through my formative years with a complete disrespect for men, as I could not trust any man other than my father and brother. Until the age of 27, I walked through life with rage and self-hate. I did not progress much in life. However, because I'm a fighter, I fought through the rage and worked myself tirelessly to no longer allow what he did to me to affect me anymore in my life.
Strength.
I was becoming a mother and could not raise my child in love if I hated myself. I worked so hard that I became an administrative director at an institution for higher education with only a high school diploma. I serve my community in the best way that I can because I can no longer lose in life because of what he chose to do that night. He was a friend of the family, and I was naive. I beat myself up for a decade and more because, Nakia, why didn't you fight? Quote, unquote. I hated myself because I did not fight, and I did not scream. I thought it was my fault because I just let this happen. I feel like I asked for it, and maybe if I had hit him or screamed, he would have left and none of this would have happened.
No.
To tell the absolute truth, if we were left, my apologies. To tell the absolute truth, if it were left up to me that day, I would never have reported the assault because I was ashamed during and immediately following the assault. However, even at an age of 15, I had great friends in my life that told for me. I remember it like it was yesterday, unfortunately. After the assault took place, I sat in fear, awake. I could not close my eyes. I thought of, quote, did he give me a disease? Did he get me pregnant? And why am I bleeding? End quote. Were my only thoughts that night. I was sick. I thought I was going to die. I could only think that my big cousin is going to hate me. He was my cousin's friend. My mom, dad, and aunt will never look at me the same, and that was just simply stupid. So sleep was not an option for me that night. When the sun came up, I walked to my friend's house, and he immediately knew something was wrong. That is when I found out I was not the only friend / relative he had done this to. He walked down the hill to the young lady's house where she detailed the same thing happening to her by him. To this day, to my knowledge, she never told anyone other than us what he did to her. He left her feeling the same way I did. Quote, she asked for it, end quote. We could not make her come with us to my aunt's house that day, and we respected her wishes. We went to my aunt's house and sat on the porch. The moment my aunt arrived home from work, my friend told her, and my aunt panicked. It turned into a whole ordeal and was pure chaos. I have been told I was lying and questioned if I was sure it happened. I was even told I wanted it. Over the years, there have been encounters that have stopped me dead in my tracks because even to this day, my heart drops at even his name. The main incident that stands clear in my mind was a concert on the New Haven Green. He was in attendance. My mother saw the fear in my eyes and could see that I mentally just was not there because I had spotted him. Luckily, in that particular instance, there was an active restraining order in place and he was removed by the police. Family members have been stronger than me over the years to check the sex offender registry to ensure he was listed. However, he was not in compliance and is now no longer listed. That speaks volumes to the lack of seriousness this offense to him and others, and definitely has been still a slap to my face. I can continue to write this board a book of many more actions, many more ways his actions that night altered the course of my life. However, I will follow the advice of the victim services and other counseling services and resources by keeping this statement to the point. I am hopeful that I have given my account of some of the ways his actions affected me then and now. To conclude, I reiterate, there are other ways to move forward in his life, and I stand firm that a pardon should not be given. I cannot receive a pardon from my trauma. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Jesus. I move that Mr. McCall's request for pardon be denied. At this time, for 6, the injury and back to the victim. I also have 9 for the minimization of responsibility for your actions, and 12, the seriousness of your offense would be diminished by the expungement of your criminal history. Ms. Zaccanini?
Aye.
Mr. Dargan?
Aye.
My vote is aye. Mr. McCall, your request is denied. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks for watching. I hope you like and I hope you subscribe. True crime, social justice, history, anything to do with how to better yourself in the community and the world we live in. That is my drug of choice. I also like court shows. If you do too and you want to see some more, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Yeah, I know I'm not good at editing. I know I need to take more time, but I wanted to push this video out. I hope you enjoy. Yeah, thanks. True crime, court shows, social justice, history, anything to do with how to better yourself in the community and the world we live in. This has been Crime Time. I'm Celeste, and I'm out. And I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Pure Hope.